Hebrews, Hebrews, Hebrews. This is Prophets of Awakening. It's our Israelite Advanced Bible Study night on Tuesday night. Every Tuesday night, 7 to 9. Okay. We'll be dealing with the book of Nehemiah. We're reading out of that, bouncing off of what we talked about on Friday and Sunday night. Okay, last week. Okay, you can go to our YouTube channel, The Prophets of Awakening. We have over 900 or so videos, or a range of information. You can check it out. And if you like what you're hearing and receiving, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And for those that want to support the channel, we have our cash app at the bottom of the screen, so we greatly appreciate it. Okay. Like I said, our hours of operation is Monday through Friday. Well, Tuesday through Friday, we come on at 7 to 9 Eastern time, and on Friday nights we come on at 7 to 9. But we have our men's Bible study on Clubhouse. It's a non-Messianic conversations. It's the name of the room. Okay, you can go to our YouTube channel. Yeah, check out we got a lot of videos. Okay, and for those that don't know, this is a non-Messianic channel. We only deal with the Tanakh and the Torah. Tanakh being the Old Testament, the so-called Book of Remembrance, and the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses by the Lord of hosts, our Redeemer. Okay, we don't subscribe to the New Testament, to Yahushua, Paul, none of those are Gentiles. Okay, shalom and welcome to the channel, and welcome to our Israelite Advanced Bible Study. Okay, we're going to do our normal, which is a moment of silence, a prayer, read the Psalms. We got some current events, try to stay up to par with what's going on around the world globally. You know, we have some need to know information. Then we open it up for some Q&A, comments, dialogue. Then we'll go into our reading from the Tanakh, which will be the book of Nehemiah. Okay, we'll read that and break it down as we go. Then we'll close out. Okay, this moment of silence is for the Lord of hosts and all that he's doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance in these last days. O Lord, righteousness and uprightness belongeth unto thee. Therefore we come before thee at this hour, seeking thy face and looking for righteousness and uprightness, that we may walk before thee as thy servants David and Solomon and Samuel and Hezekiah did, that we may walk before thee in truth and in righteousness and in rightness of heart. Give unto us, O Lord, an understanding heart, that we may discern between good and bad. For we know that you possess the power to do just that. And for we desire to walk after thee, O Lord, to keep your commandments and your testimonies, your statutes with all our heart and soul, to perform the words of the covenant that was written down by your prophets. O Lord, allow thy face to shine upon thy people. Hear our plea. Hear and do, O Lord. Hide not thy face from us, for we need you so very much at this hour. Peace be on you. Okay? We read the Psalms. Okay? Okay? I'll read Psalms 79. It's a prayer for destruction of the heathen, heathen's enemies. It's a psalm by Asaph. O God, the heathens are come into thine inheritance. Thy holy temple have they defiled. They have laid Jerusalem on heaps. The dead bodies of thy servants have they given to the meat unto the fowls of heaven. The flesh of thy saints unto the beasts of the earth. Their blood have they shed like water round about Jerusalem, and there was none to bury them. We have become a reproach to our neighbors, a scorn and a derision to them that are round about us. How long, Lord, wilt thou be angry forever? Shall thy jealousy burn like fire? Pour out thy wrath upon the heathen that have not known thee, and upon the kingdoms that have not called upon thee. For they have devoured Jacob, and laid waste his dwelling place. Oh, remember not against us former iniquities, Let thy tender mercies speedily prevent us, for we are brought very low. Help us, O God, of our salvation, for thy glory, for the glory of thy name, and deliver us, and purge away our sins for thy name's sake. Wherefore shall the heathen say, where is their God? Let him be known among the heathens in our sight, by the revenging of the blood of thy servants which is shed. Let the sign of the prisoners come before thee, according to the greatness of thy power. Preserve thou those that are appointed to die, and render unto our neighbors sevenfold in their bosom the reproach wherewith they have reproached thee, O Lord. So we, thy people, are sheep of the pasture. When pasture will give thee thanks forever. We will show forth thy praises to all generations. So that was Psalm 79. It's a prayer for destruction of the heathen enemies. Okay, so like I said, it's a Psalm of Asaph. I just wanted to shine a light on verse 13. Like I say, when you're trying to figure out who the suffering servant is in Isaiah 53, we see it right here, 13. So we, thy people, and sheep of thy pasture, will give thee thanks forever. We will show forth praises to all generations, right? So we see who the sheep is right here, is Israelites. So if we go to Isaiah 53 right quick, I'm going to read it right quick. Isaiah 53. Okay. And it says in Isaiah 53 verses, let me get it. Start at verse 7. He was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He is brought as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before her shears is dumb. So he opened not his mouth. We're going to see people are going to say, oh, he is singular, right? Let's keep going. He was taken from prison and from judgment. Who shall declare his generation? For he was cut off out of the land of the living. For the transgression of my people was he stricken. And he made his grave with the wicked and with the rich in his death, because he done no violence, neither was there any deceit in his mouth. Yet it pleased the Lord to bruise him. He hath put him to grief, and thou shalt see his soul an offering for sin. He shall see his seed. He shall prolong his days in the pastures, and the pleasure of the Lord shall prosper in his hand. He shall see the travail of his soul, and he shall be satisfied by his knowledge. Knowledge shall my righteous servant justify many, for he shall bear their iniquity. Therefore will I divide him a portion with the great, and he shall divide the spoils with the strong, because he poured out his soul unto death, and he was numbered with the transgressors. And he bore his sin, and he bore the sin of many, and made intercession for the transgressors. So you see up here in verse 10, it says, he shall see his seed. So we know JC don't have no seed. So what is he talking about? Israelites, the Levites. That's the suffering servant. He took the Israelites to himself, took them from among the tribes of Israel, and took him to himself. They his seed. They is his servants, the prophets and all them. That's his servants. That's the arm of the Lord. Okay, and he's saying it singular because he's using he and him because the nation of Israel came from Jacob. You see all 12 tribes as one man. That's the reason he's using the singular. And we see that over in Jeremiah chapter 30 and in other verses where when he's talking about Israel, he's using singular because he's looking at them as one man, because all 12 of those boys came from Jacob. Okay, any comments? Okay, So with that being said, we go to our current events.
The world's strongest military is recommitting itself to the Indo-Pacific region. And this time, the mobilization is unlike ever before. American troops are undertaking strategic exercises across Asia. It's a projection of hard power in the Indo-Pacific region. A clear message to China and North Korea that the big bad American war machine cannot be ignored. Because no matter what happens, America's military is always prepared. Thailand is hosting Southeast Asia's largest ever military drills. Cobra Gold is the longest running international military exercise. This multilateral exercise strengthens.
Find out how a small group of regular people turned the auto.
Of all the nations that are the main participants, Thailand is the host country. Other Southeast Asian nations taking part in the drills are Indonesia, Singapore, and Malaysia. From Eastern Asia, there is South Korea and Japan, and the only non-Asian participant is the US. America has been involved with Exercise Cobra Gold from the time it first began in 1982. And US forces have taken part every year in these last 4 decades, which shows the amount of value and commitment that Washington gives to the Indo-Pacific region.
This is, as the announcer said, the 43rd iteration of Cobra Gold. And what that means to all of us is that there are decades of friendship and partnership and shared values, all committed to seeing a free and open Indo-Pacific, but also seeing us learn from one another.
And this year is no less. The US has the largest contingent of troops at Cobra Gold 2024. Here's what the drills are all about. At least 9,000 troops are taking part. The troops will carry out live fire exercises, amphibious assault drills, jungle survival training, and hand-to-hand combat. The drills are aimed at building bonds between the US and its allies. And it just so happens that the other Asian allies taking part in Cobra Gold have problems with China.
The most important thing for these exercises is building the relationships so that we do that here in training. And if we face a real world event together, we know the people and we're ready to respond. I'm looking for the proficiency of our teams, but the relationships are enduring.
Cobra Gold 2024 ends with the Marine Corps of participating nations for the challenge from China and North Korea. Joining South Korea and the US is Japan. Tokyo is worried about the growing tensions in Asia. Japan is already participating in Cobra Gold. They also hold special anti-China drills to practice for a possible invasion of Taiwan.
China's military trends are a matter of serious concern to Japan and the international community. They mark the greatest strategic challenge to date in ensuring the peace and stability of Japan and the international community, and in strengthening the international order based on the rule of law. I believe we...
Yeah, so look around, you can see that everybody gearing up for war. These bankers, powers that be know what's getting ready to happen, and everybody's gearing up for it. Everybody but the American citizen left in the dark. Any comments? Let's check this out. Can you cut the response off this? Okay.
Says there are 3 things he's going to do on day 1 if he is reelected. First, close the border. Second, drill baby drill. And third, free those convicted of January 6 crimes, or as he's called them in a post on social media, January 6 hostages being wrongfully imprisoned. He's flirted with releasing some in the past on speeches and in interviews, but this is the first time that I can recall, at least, that he said all of them and that he'd do it on day 1. That's more than 500 people, including Daniel DJ Rodriguez, who's serving a 12.5-year sentence for driving a stun gun, you can see it right here, into the Capitol officer's Michael Fanone's neck, Capitol Police Officer Michael Fanone. Peter Schwartz, who's serving 14 years for throwing a folding chair at officers while wielding a tire knocker. There's that bear spray right there. Retired NYPD officer Thomas Webster serving 10 years for tackling an officer and pulling off his mask, forcing him to choke on pepper spray. Not sure if we're seeing that video, but this is more video from the moment. And Patrick McCaughey, who's serving 7 years for crushing Officer Daniel Hodges with the officer's own shield. You can see that right there. Joining us now is NBC News correspondent Von Hilliard and NBC News Justice reporter Ryan Riley. So Ryan, tell us more. Donald Trump says he wants to pardon all of them, get them out of jail. What would that mean? What would that logistically mean for the Justice Department?
I mean, this is the largest investigation in FBI history. It's a lot of defendants. It's tough to keep them all straight. So this would be a massive undertaking to obviously sort of get rid of all of these charges. And it would include people who brutally assaulted law enforcement on video that day. Just really terrible attacks on law enforcement. The most recent arrest team he had was someone who fired off a gun at the Capitol on January 6th itself. That was someone who NBC News identified more than 2 years ago, but it wasn't clear until recently that they actually fired that weapon, and they were arrested and picked up on Friday. There's a detention hearing for them on Wednesday, tomorrow. And that's a very small segment of these individuals are actually held pre-trial. A lot of them have now been sentenced, but we're talking about a universe of 1,300 people who have been charged overall. About 950 have been convicted in some capacity, and about 500 have been sentenced to time in prison. And there's a mix of reactions from these defendants once they actually make it into court. Just a couple of weeks ago, I actually talked with Brian Mock, who's a January 6th defendant, and you can take a listen to what he had to say.
I think if all we've heard is that this is a big lie, let me see what that evidence is. And that's why a lot of us showed up on January 6th, was because the courts, quite frankly, had shut this down without letting the public see what evidence is brought forward. That's what we want. It's that evidence heard. And if people were misled, if people spoke from a position of authority on information that wasn't correct, they need to be honest about that. And if there is evidence, we need to see that. It's been, we're coming up on year 4, we're in the exact same spot as we were before. And we need to be better.
So there's really a mix here. We have some individuals who've really seen the light, realized that they were tricked and fooled, that that this was all ridiculous lie about the election in 2020. And then you have people who still believe that lie today. And you have people sort of in the middle, like Brian Mock, who say that, if this was a lie with that caveat, it wasn't a lie. We should clarify. But if, that he's saying that essentially that if it was a lie, then there needs to be accountability more broadly and for politicians who are spreading that lie.
He rightly says it's been 4 years and he hasn't seen evidence. I wonder how much longer he's going to wait for that evidence, which doesn't exist. Von Hilliard, is this something that Donald Trump did on a whim, or is it something the campaign wants him to do?
Donald Trump has suggested for months now that he would potentially pardon the January 6th defendants. He has called on Joe Biden to
He
release.
just caveated it. He said not the violent ones.
Right. This is a different ballgame here. And Ryan has been on the front lines of reporting the stories of these defendants. And I think it's important to understand how many of them have said that the actions that they took on the day of the Capitol attack were because of Donald Trump. You'll recall during the debate, Donald Trump telling the Proud Boys to stand back and stand by, right? Donald Trump, in his eyes, these defendants, a large number of them, they are the most loyal of supporters, right? That were there and showed up that day on behalf of him. Donald.
Okay. Any comments on that? What do you think? Okay. Yeah, he said he's going to release all the people that violated the government in January 6th. He's going to be the president. This is who America wants to be the president. Imagine what that's going to do to the Justice Department. It's a joke. Ain't that something? I can imagine it'd probably be riots if it happened. Okay. Anybody got any comments on that? Okay. Got some need to know information. Thought this was pretty interesting.
To you, Mayor, Governor, President, if you think that they're powerful, that you have to acquiesce and answer to them over us, then you tell them to vote for you in these next elections. You tell them to support your Democratic National Convention. But we're going to show you how we feel about the Democratic National Convention. Thank you. If you think you're going to have a peaceful Democratic National Convention in the city of Chicago while our people starving, that's right. Say something. It's political season in the United States. 2016, we saw a major upset when Donald Trump beat Hillary Clinton. 2020, we saw another big upset when Joe Biden beat Donald Trump. Now in 2024, we got the Titans back up again against one another. But this time, situations are different. And that brings me to the great city of Chicago, the third largest economy in the United States. In August, something's going to happen in Chicago. Can you guess what it is? The Democratic National Convention. Now, the Democratic National Convention every 4 years has this main purpose to present from the Democratic Party the president and the vice president, who will go on to the national election and face the Republican presidential candidate and the vice president for the Republican Party. That's the purpose of it. Let's stop the show. Chicago has some problems with the Democratic National Convention. And that is why Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson is going to tighten up on security. Let's check it out.
We're less than 6 months from the Democratic National Convention taking over parts of the city. Now we're learning more on the security that'll be in place.
On behalf of our city, I am immensely proud and thrilled to welcome this event back to our city. And I'm confident about its success.
Chicago Police Superintendent Larry Snelling says they are leaning into what they've learned, especially 12 years ago when thousands marched in protest through the city's streets.
Well, think about this. Just stop the show again. Chicago is a Democratic city, has been so for many years. I'll let you see all the mayors that they've had in the last 60 years or so that have been Democrats. Democrats are there all the time, not only there, but in other cities like Dalton. Even Tiffany Henyard, who's one of the worst mayors in the country, is a Democrat. And don't believe me? Listen to what Mr. Jason House says in Dalton, Illinois. Listen to what he says for people who just get elected Democrat in his city.
And when you look at the real election in Dalton, and so Dalton actually has a Democratic primary. We're largely a Democratic community.
Yeah, so whoever wins that really wins the mayoral.
Yes. So when you look at the numbers of the real election, it was on February 21st of the same year. During that election, she won by 4%. She beat out the former mayor. She got the lowest vote total of any mayor that ever won the Democratic primary.
Oh, wow.
That's right.
Stop. You don't need to build a business to generate income, Hermione.
We win the Democratic vote, you're already going to be a mayor or a senator. You're going to have everything. So how is it a city that has everything Democratic worried about what's going to happen at the Democratic National Convention? Rewind! Let's go back to the lovely Kata Truss. She's a normal citizen just like me and you, but man, has she made a name for herself in the last 2 years. She's been on African Diaspora Network with Phil Scott. She's been on Fox News, MSNBC. Why is she such a voice for Black Chicagoans? Well, she is a registered Democrat, but that's about to change. Voting Black and voting Democrat is out. She said she learned a lesson. What lesson was that?
And one of the things that happened with Brandon Johnson was he was really a lesson to me and probably to other Blacks that we can't just be out here voting for people because they look like us. And we definitely can't be supporting people just because they're Democrats, because Brandon Johnson, as well as President Biden, as well as our Governor Pritzker, are showing us what the Democratic Party really feels about Black people.
And oh yeah, Brandon Johnson has been trying to plead his case. Want to know why? Because of the migrant crisis. You're seeing so many migrants in the city of Chicago, costing the city about $300 million. Migrant shelters coming up everywhere. You even see so many immigrants in Chicago selling candy bars on the side of the road, trying to make money. African Americans are tired of that. Check this out.
It's 68,000 Chicagoans that are homeless. Majority of them are Black. Our Black kids are running rampant out here. Record carjackings, record auto theft, and robberies. Downtown has 3 to 4 legal families on every block begging for work and selling Kit Kat bars after $1 billion was spent on them. Where is that money? Where is the money for the South Side and the West Side communities? That should be the argument.
Well, let's go back to Brandon Johnson trying to plead his goddamn case as mayor. He's trying to beg and plead for people to give him one more chance.
Johnson holding up his progressive victories may seem like a shift in strategy, but the mayor insists he's not changed messaging.
We've been very consistent with our message from the very beginning. When I announced my candidacy over a year ago, I said we were going to eliminate sub-minimum wage. We did that. I said we're going to pass paid time off. We did that. I said we're going to invest more in youth employment. We've done that. I said we're committed to hiring more detectives. We're doing that.
Whether it's a shift or not, some say Johnson is just not connecting.
But not Black Chicago, not having that shit. Not at all. You know when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired? You ever been in a relationship with somebody you just can't really stand them no more? You kind of understand it ain't gonna get no better. They won't brush their teeth. They breath stink. They be farting. Farting sounds. They do all that stuff you just can't get rid of, and you love them, but they're not gonna change. But that's Black Chicago and it's the Democratic Party. And so now you have this brother who's going viral for saying this.
And Black people speak for Black.
Oh, yes, sir.
Black Americans. We're not African American. We're not people of color. We're not Black and brown, minority.
That's right.
BIPOC. None of that. People, no, none of that. This is about our people demanding the resources, just as you're giving these people, these newcomers who are walking into this country.
You're right.
And sister's correct. How do you take a new group of people that have paid no taxes, can't vote, and you put them in front of the voters?
I'm not going to pay them no bad taxes.
And so we say this to you, Mayor, Governor, President. If you think that they're that powerful that you have to acquiesce and answer to them over us, then you tell them to vote for you in these next elections. You tell them to support your Democratic National Convention. We're going to show you how we feel about the Democratic National Convention.
Thank you.
If you think you're going to have a peaceful Democratic National Convention in the city of Chicago while our people starving,
that's right.
Stay tuned.
Oh, man, that's powerful. Here is a brother that's like, look, don't call us African Americans. Don't call us this. Don't call us that. If you Democrats feel like y'all gonna come up here and set up shop in Chicago and it's not gonna be no stuff in the game, you're crazy. Well, why do they feel like that? I think you know if you've been watching this channel. Migrants have been coming into the city, getting what Black Chicagoans have been asking for a long time. They've been overrunning Black parks, Black community parks. Kata Truss talked about it in this clip.
Well, let me just say this. I'm just a regular person here from the city of Chicago. I'm not a person that's known. And how I got involved with the migrant crisis is we got a phone call from our alderman letting us know that Amerson Park, which is the park where my children grew up playing football, my husband coached football and baseball at that park. We had a call saying that that park was going to be taken away from the community and used as a migrant shelter. And we immediately got on the phone. We started calling the people in the community. We called all of our elected officials. We called past and former players, coaches, parents. And we, we're like, hey, listen, they're trying to take our park away. We're going to have to rally and pull ourselves together and try to see if we can prevent this from happening.
And it's with no consideration for how African Americans in the community feel. Imagine you're supporting a restaurant, you're supporting your own local business, you're supporting your favorite shop, and you're spending your money there, but they don't really give a damn how you feel. They don't care about nothing. What do? After supporting them for like 50 years, you're like, wait a minute, I'm not gonna give you my money because you're not giving me what I need. And Cata Trust says she spent money with Brandon Johnson and gave him some time when he ran for mayor. Play that clip.
Not only did I support Brandon, I campaigned for Brandon, and I gave Brandon money. And so, I was like 10 toes down for him. But one thing about me is if you're going to do the job, you better do the job right. I don't care who you are. I don't care how well I know you. I don't care if you're my friend. You got to be about your business.
But yeah, Black Chicagoans are done. Really what they have seen is their Black neighborhoods in their city be overrun by another group of people who have not paid taxes, who have not worked. I live in Africa. I pay tons of money in California state tax. I pay tons of money in federal tax. I ain't even in the goddamn country. So I can imagine how they feel living there, being there all the damn time, and you're paying taxes. And if you happen to be homeless, you happen to do this or that, then some other group of people come into your spot and then they're trying to get everything that you got. How would you feel? You will feel like you're messed up. And I'm not trying to say the Republicans are the best alternative, or, because conservatives got some black sellouts over there too. We don't talk about that. But at the same time, people are voting with a motive. And the motive is politics create.
Okay. Any comments on that? Okay. No comment. Keep your eyes on it. Okay. Open it up for some Q&A. Anybody have any questions or comments about anything from last week or previous shows we want to talk about? Dialogue? Okay. You always hear me talking about phenotypes and seed lines, so we're gonna play this, and then this is a part of Nehemiah also. That's what we're gonna be reading from later on.
He also saw Jews that had married wives of Ashdod, of Ammon, and of Moab. And their children spake half in the speech of Ashdod, and could not speak in the Jews' language, but according to the language of each people. And I contended with them, and cursed them, and smote certain of them, and plucked off their hair, and made them swear by God, saying, Ye shall not give your daughters unto their sons, nor take their daughters unto your sons, or for yourselves. Did not Solomon king of Israel sin by these things? Yet among many nations was there
let this friend mate.
No king like him, who was beloved of his God, and God made him king over all Israel. Nevertheless, even him did outlandish women cause to sin. Shall we then hearken unto you to do all this great evil, to transgress against our God in marrying strange wives? And one of the sons of Joiada, the son of Eliashib the high priest, was son-in-law to Sanballat the Horonite. Therefore I chased him from me. Remember them, O my God, because they have defiled the priesthood, and the covenant of the priesthood, and of the Levites. Thus cleansed I them from all strangers, and appointed the wards of the priests and the Levites, everyone in his business, and for the wood offering, at times appointed, and for the first fruits. Remember me, O my God, for good.
Just stocked up on a ton of kale.
Relationship. The covenant relationship between the Most High and Israel was understood to be exclusive. with the Israelites commanded to distinguish themselves from other nations through their worship practices and societal laws. Marrying foreign women who did not share the covenant obligations and might worship other gods was seen as a violation. Preservation of religious purity. The primary reason for Nehemiah's and Ezra's opposition to marriages with foreign women was the threat these marriages posed to the religious purity of the Israelite community. They were concerned that these unions would lead to the introduction and eventual acceptance of idolatrous practices and beliefs from surrounding pagan cultures, which would undermine the worship of the Most High.
And that's where we at right now, times 1,000.
Loss of pedigree records. Marrying foreign women was also seen as problematic because it could lead to the loss of clear Israelite lineage, which was crucial for maintaining the identity of the priestly class and for tribal affiliations. This concern is particularly relevant in the post-exilic period, when the community was trying to reestablish itself and its connections to its ancestral traditions and obligations. The covenant relationship. The covenant relationship between the Most High and Israel was understood to be exclusive, with the Israelites commanded to distinguish themselves from other nations through their worship practices and societal laws. Marrying foreign women who did not share the covenant obligations and might worship other gods was seen as a violation of this exclusivity. The narrative of God choosing specific individuals to lead and become the progenitors of the Israelites, starting with Isaac over Ishmael and Jacob over Esau, is a foundational theme in the understanding of the Israelites as God's chosen people. This theme of divine selection is further expounded in the New Testament, particularly in Romans 9:19-24, through the metaphor of the potter and the clay. And God said, Sarah thy wife shall bear thee a son indeed, and thou shalt call his name Isaac, and I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him. And as for Ishmael, I have heard thee. Behold, I have blessed him, and will make him fruitful, and will multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he beget, and I will make him a great nation. But my covenant will I establish with Isaac, which Sarah shall bear unto thee at this set time in the next year. After roaming the wilderness for some time, Ishmael and his mother settled in the desert of Paran, where he became an expert in archery. Eventually, his mother found him a wife from the land of Egypt. Ishmael became the father of the Arab nation. Though diverse, many of the modern-day Arabs are a mixture of Persian, Edomite Greeks, Turkish, Egyptian, and African due to migration and the Arab conquest. The narrative of Jacob and Esau underscores the theme of divine selection within the broader context of the Israelites' history. This theme is vividly illustrated in the account of their birth and God's prophecy to their mother, Rebekah. Before they were born, God told Rebekah that the older would serve the younger, Genesis 25:23. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger.
Yeah, so I want to pause there right there, because it came up a couple of times, and I wasn't able to go all the way in on that. So it says that on this video, it says that the Lord of Hosts is the one that gave Rebekah the information and the knowledge of what was going on with Jacob and Esau, right? So I'm gonna go here and Joshua chapter 26 to find out what really happened. Okay. I'm in Joshua 26. Okay. And I'm gonna pick it up in verse 1. It says, in the 59th year of the life of Isaac, the son of Abraham, Rebekah his wife was still barren in those days. And Rebekah said unto Isaac, truly I have heard, my Lord, that thy mother Sarah was barren in her days until my Lord Abraham thy father prayed for her, and she conceived by him, right? So we see right here, Sarah was in the same predicament Rebecca was in, and Abraham went and inquired of the Lord on account of Sarah, and he says, Abraham says, Rebecca said unto Isaac, truly I have heard, my Lord, that thy mother Sarah was barren in her days, until my Lord Abraham, thy father, prayed for her, and she conceived by him. So Abraham went and prayed to the Lord. It wasn't Sarah. We're going to see that same thing happened with Rebecca. So this is a major triggeration right here. So it's causing problem for us as Israelites today. It says, now, therefore, stand up, pray thou also to God. So just talking to Isaac. Now, therefore, stand up, pray thou also to God, and he will hear thy prayer and remember us through his mercies. So it's telling Isaac to pray for Rebecca, just like Abraham prayed for Sarah. So they keep going. And Isaac answered his wife Rebecca, saying, Abraham has already prayed for me. Okay. Isaac answered his wife Rebecca, saying, Abraham has already prayed for me to God to multiply his seed. Now, therefore, this barrenness must proceed, God, to us from thee. And Rebekah said unto him, but arise now thou also and pray, that the Lord may hear thy prayer and grant me children. And Isaac hearkened to the words of his wife, and Isaac and his wife rose up and went to the land of Moriah to pray there and also to seek the Lord. And when they had reached that place, Isaac stood up, prayed to the Lord on account of his wife, because she was barren. So Isaac doing the praying. Isaac said, O Lord God of heaven and earth, whose goodness and mercy fill the earth, thou who didst take my father from his father's house and from his birthplace, and didst bring him unto this land, and didst say unto him, to thy seed will I give the land, and thou didst promise him, and didst declare unto him, I will multiply thy seed as the stars of heaven, as the sands of the sea. Now may thy word be verified, which thou didst speak unto my father. For thou art the Lord our God. Our eyes are toward thee, to give us seed of me, as thou didst promise us. For thou art the Lord our God, and our eyes are directed toward thee. Okay, here we go. So it says, and the Lord heard the prayer of Isaac, the son of Abraham, and the Lord was entreated of him. And Rebekah his wife conceived. And in about the 7th month, after the children struggled together within her, and it pained her greatly that she was weary on account of them. And she said to all the women who were then in the land, did such a thing happen to you as it has to me? And they said to her, no. And she said unto them, why am I alone in this among all the women that were upon the earth? And she went to the land of Moriah to seek the Lord. Check it out. She went to the land of Moriah to seek the Lord on account of this. And she went to Shem. To that, she went to Shem and Bble, his son, to make inquiries of them in this matter. She didn't go talk to the Lord on herself. And this is what they've done in the Christian church. See? So it says she went to Shem and Bble, his sons, to make inquiries of them in this matter, and that they should seek the Lord in this thing, respecting her. And she also asked Abraham, see that? She also asked Abraham to seek and inquire of the Lord about all that the land had befallen her. So this Israelite woman doing what an Israelite woman's supposed to do. She went to a man. She ain't jump up and say, I'm gonna go talk to Jesus myself. I can talk to him. She know the order of how it goes. So she went not only to Shem, which is a hell of a dude, Eber, a hell of a dude. She also went to Abraham. A triple whammy, right? And then it says, and she also asked Abraham to seek and inquire the Lord about all that had befallen her. So they tell you in the New Testament, they tell you in the King James that she went and inquired of the Lord. And like I was saying before, they tricked off the understanding to a lot of our words and a lot of things that's in the scriptures. Yeah, she went and inquired, but she didn't go talk to the Lord. She went and inquired of her lords that's over her. And they inquired to their Lord and got the information. So it says in 12, and they all inquired of the Lord concerning this matter. And they brought her word. They brought her word from the Lord and told her 2 nations are in this. And they left this out. This way is so important. So it says 2 children are in thy womb, and 2 nations shall rise from them, and 1 nation shall be stronger than the other, and the greatest shall serve the younger. So it's the same thing right here when the Pharaoh, which is a heathen, had a dream. He went to Joseph. He can't go to talk to the Lord. He went to Joseph. Like I said, the suffering servants, the priests and Levites. That's the Most High servant. And because they done what they done, he cast them off. That's how you get the suffering servant. It's Isaiah 53. Afflicted and wounded. Because they got outside of they roles of what they supposed to been doing. Guiding the Israelites. So we see right here how that all goes, how that works. They went to her, got the information from the Lord, they came back and gave it to her. That's how she knew what to do when the time came, Isaac went to go get Isaac sent Esau to go get venison. They had already told her what to do. Same way, like I said, Joseph told the Pharaoh, 7 years of plenty gonna come first, then 7 years of famine coming. Told him what to do. Pharaoh ain't gonna talk to the Lord. Joseph, his servant, did. Okay.
Culmination of this divine selection is seen in Jacob's name changed to Israel after wrestling with God, which marks the genesis of the Israelite nation through his descendants. This transition from Jacob to Israel signifies a transformation both in character and in the covenantal relationship with God, emphasizing the idea that the Israelites.
So let's look at that. We found out about this angel over Israel, the Lord of hosts. That's our Israel's savior. He's been the savior all along till these Gentiles came and got hotel records. So they voided who was over us who our Lord was that was over us. They voided that. Well, they're doing the same thing right here by tricking out the scriptures and with the order. So now these Israelites, like he said, let's look at that. I'll read it again. I read it the other night, but I'm gonna read it again. It says, like I say, you're looking for the suffering servant, right? So let's go to Isaiah 52. Just like I said, you're looking for the Antichrist. He got to show up before the beast system comes. He got to set it up. He can't come after the beast system. He got to come before it. So you're looking for the suffering servant. Looking at Isaiah 52 before you get to 53, right? So look at it. And it says right here. "52, last 3 verses, says, Behold, my servant shall deal prudently, and he shall be exalted and extolled and be very high. As many were astonished at thee, his vestige was so more than any man, and his form more than the sons of men." So it's more than one, his servant is more than one man. 15, so shall he sprinkle many nations, and the kings shall shut their mouths at him for that which they had not been told, and they shall see, and that which they had not or heard shall they consider. So there ain't but one person that sprinkles. I don't know where in the New Testament JC sprinkled shit on anybody, but we know these Israelites the one do the sprinkling, the blood on the people, like Moses did. So in these last days, this is what they done. They took the Most High servant and voided him, just like they did him. Wrote him out the scriptures, just like they're doing right here. They want you, just by saying Rebecca went and inquired of the Lord. Now, these Abraham, like I said, Abraham, Shem, and Eber, void. They marked nix. All of a sudden, just because they wrote that in there and said that she went and inquired of the Lord. No, she went and talked to the Most High servants. And they went and talked to him. Same thing we doing all through the scriptures with these 7 angels. Ain't no Negro going and talking to the Lord, to Yahweh. He's dealing with these angels. That's the only way to deal with him. Same way down here. The only way to deal with our Lord, the God over Israel, is to deal with his servants that he took, Levites. He took away from the 12 tribes. He took them out of and brought them to himself. The only way to do it. You don't need nobody to come. No servant hid in the bush and all that bullcrap. It was already in place. They just farted it out with Christianity in the New Testament. Okay?
Are chosen and formed by God's will. Jacob became the father of the 12 tribes, which would later be cursed and scattered around the world. Because of the scattering, Israelite males.
There go your answer right there. Cursed. Suffering. Cursed. Let that ferment.
Have impregnated foreign women, and the seed line of Jacob has been planted in diverse wombs, including those of Arabic, Persian, African, Caucasian, Asian, and East Indian women. As for Esau, Isaac would bless Esau. Genesis 27:39-40 states, And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. Esau did have a melanated wife, among them Judith, the daughter of Bble the Hittite, and Basemath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite. There are many clans within the Edomite nation. These sons planted their seeds in Persian and Turkish women, and his mark still remains.
Okay.
One ticker, one trade.
Okay.
So, well, here I am, white, Jewish, and a reporter. So why in the world did you trust me enough to sit down and talk to me this way, Minister Farrakhan?
Let me say this. I would not say that all whites and all Jews and all media are untrustworthy. That is not a fair characterization of my
That's
thinking.
the perception of a lot of people in America.
Perception is not necessarily
reconciliation. It's bound to be perceived as anti-Semitic, and you know it, and you do it over and over again.
I quoted the synagogue of Satan is part of a scripture in the book of Revelations, the 2nd chapter and the 3rd chapter. It says, and I quote, those who say they are Jews and are not, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan.
The people you're talking to there, the people who saw that on television, they aren't students of the Bible as you are. They don't know the scripture as you do. What they hear, what I heard, was overtones of absolute, you were sticking it to the Jews once again.
In reality, Mr. Wallace, You know, I've heard whites and Jews say they are good and bad in every race.
Yeah.
And if they're good and bad in every race, does that not apply to Jews? Are they good Jews? And are there bad Jews? And if there are good Jews, what constitutes a good Jew?
Give me a list of a half a dozen good Jews.
No. Only God knows who the good are. There are good appearing Muslims, there are good appearing Christians, there are good appearing Jews, but God knows who is good. And so the good are those who live by the standard that makes you a Jew. Once you deviate from that standard, you're not a Jew anymore, from my vantage point.
Have you talked about bad Muslims?
Of course. Ooh. There are bad Muslims. There are Muslims who deviate from the path of God. I'm not anti-Semitic. I do not hate Jews. I want this to be very clear. I do not hate Jews. I do not hate people because their skin is white. What I hate is evil and injustice and exploitation, whether a black does it, whether a white does it, whether a Jew, a Muslim, or a Christian does it.
The Secret Relationship Between Blacks and Jews is a book published in 1991 by the Nation of Islam. It asserts that Jews played a major role in the Atlantic slave trade, claiming they were disproportionately responsible for the enslavement of African peoples. However, critics argue that the book promotes anti-Semitism and is not factual. According to the Most High, "Prove all things" is a phrase from the Bible, 1 Thessalonians 5:21. A summary of the book details the Jewish hand in the Black Holocaust of Black people. The Black Holocaust. Jews were known to free their black chattel, but only after they became elderly and unable to work, forcing them to fend for themselves in their old age. Jews bequeathed black human beings from one generation to another, and they sold black children and babies away from their parents. Jews suppressed slave uprisings, and in 1831, Jews were involved in hunting down the great Nat Turner and his freedom fighters. Dr. Harold Brackman wrote, "Jews were about twice as likely to be slave owners as the average white Southerner." The first Jew elected to the U.S. Senate, Florida's David Yulee, was one of the most strident haters of Indians and defenders of slavery. Jews suppressed slave uprisings, and in 1831, Jews were involved in hunting down the great Nat Turner and his freedom fighters. The first Jew elected to the U.S. Senate, Florida's David Yulee, was one of the most strident haters of Indians and defenders of slavery. Dr. Harold Brackman wrote, "Jews were about twice as likely to be slave owners as the average white Southerner." Rabbi and historian Dr. Bertram W. Korn, the acknowledged expert on 19th century American Jewry, wrote, "It would seem to be realistic to conclude that any few who could afford to own slaves and had need for their services would do so. Jews participated in every aspect and process of the exploitation of the defenseless blacks. The first Hebrew poem written in the New World was a bitter attack on the black maroon leader. The Jews of Barbados," wrote one Jewish scholar, "made a good deal of their money by purchasing and hiring out Negroes. All Barbadian Jews, including the rabbi, owned black slaves. Jews warehoused so many African slaves in Barbados that Gentile authorities moved to limit the number of captives they could possess. Jews became the major traders in refuse slaves, Africans who were weak and sick from the Middle Passage voyage. Jewish traders fattened them up and sold them at a profit." Jewish scholars Isaac and Susan Emanuel reported that in Curacao, which was a major slave trading depot, the shipping business was mainly a Jewish enterprise. Rabbi Mark Lee Raphael wrote that in Curacao in the 17th century, as well as in Barbados and Jamaica in the 18th century, Jewish merchants played a major role in the slave trade. Jewish slave catchers / smugglers / breeders. Jews smuggled slaves to places where slavery was illegal, rented them when they did not want to buy, and bred African women for sexual purposes. Jews ran jails and imprisoned and punished black slaves. They served as constables, sheriffs, detectives, and bounty hunters in the slavocracy.
Okay, so listening to that, like I said, you gotta wake up first of all. The first thing you gotta do, but notice that what they doing. They have knowledge of who's who. They know who the Israelite is, and they know who the Jew is. How else can they be? How else can they do what they was doing? With the like they were just telling you about how they was breeding the women, and fattening the men up after they get over here. If they got weak over on the trip over, they knew just who was who. They wasn't doing that to their own people. Because hey, and this is where we've been brainwashed again. That is, they're aware of seed line. It's what it's all about. Seed line. They're aware of it. They know who to oppress and who not to oppress. They know who's who. We the ones that's lost in the sauce, not understanding that, not understanding that. Like I said, what Nehemiah is what we're gonna be reading out of in a minute, and in Ezra. When they came back from Babylon, the main thing they was dealing with was their registry on their genealogy. Those are the utmost importance. And like he said, especially with the Levites, because they was in the temple, they was around the Lord of hosts, they was around Most High's angels. So they had to be of a certain pedigree. So like I said before, everybody else seemed to know, except us. Okay. Any comments? Okay. Like I said, I'm going to read out of. I think we was on chapter 5 last time we was reading out of this. I think in Friday night. So it says, Nehemiah chapter 5. It says, and there was a great cry of the people and of their wives against their brethren the Jews, for there were that said, we, our sons and our daughters, are many, therefore we take up corn for them that we may eat and live. Some are there, some also that said, we have mortgaged our lands, vineyards, houses, that we might buy corn because of the dearth. There was also that said, we have borrowed money for the king's tribute, and that upon our lands and our vineyards. So it's the same thing going on now. We getting caught up in money trap loans and losing our property and our whatever little wealth we have, we losing it. They're doing the same thing now. This is what you call usury, right? And it's tied to the curses. 4, there were also, this is when Nehemiah and them came back to Jerusalem after being in Babylon for 7 years. When they got back there, this was what was going on with their relatives that was in the land of Israel. It says, 4, there were also that said, we have borrowed money for the king's tribute, and that upon our lands and our vineyards, they borrowed money against their lands and their vineyards. Yet now our flesh is as the flesh of our brethren, our children as their children, and lo, we bring into bondage our sons and our daughters to be servants. And some of our daughters are brought unto bondage already, neither is it in our power to redeem them. For other men have our lands and our vineyards, same predicament today, and nothing new under the sun. And I was very angry when I heard their cry and these words. This Nehemiah. Then I consulted with myself, and I rebuked the nobles and the rulers, and I said unto them, ye exact usury. Same thing what we just listened to. We exact usury. You exact usury. Okay, let me get around that. Usury every one of his brother, and I have set a great assembly against them. And I said unto them, we, after our ability, have redeemed our brethren and the Jews, which were sold unto the heathen, and we will will ye even sell your brethren, or shall they be sold unto us? Then held their peace and found nothing to answer. Also I said, it is not good that ye do, ought ye not to work in the fear of God because of the reproach of the heathen of our enemies. So what I was just reading is, up until this point, till Nehemiah and them came back, they was under bondage and they had, because they didn't have no resources, they was ended up selling their land, getting caught up with and land being taken, daughters being taken, daughters being abused and raped and all that. Same thing we were witness to the transatlantic slave trade. Ain't nothing new under the sun, but notice right here, when Nehemiah came back, I want to show you something. You go to Ezra chapter 1, verse 5, it says, then rose up the chief fathers of Judah and Benjamin, the priests and the Levites, with all those whose spirit God had raised to go up to build the house of the Lord, which is in Jerusalem. 6, and all they that were about him strengthened their hands, here you go, vessels of silver, with gold, goods, beasts, and precious things, besides all that was willingly offered. Also, Cyrus king brought forth the vessels of the house of the Lord, which Nebuchadnezzar had brought forth out of Jerusalem, and put them in the house of his God. Even these did Cyrus, king of Persia, bring forth by the hands of Mithra the treasurer, and number them unto Sheshbazzar the prince. That's Zerubbabel. Then 9, and this is the number. So this is why it's in there, right here. We read it, but we don't understand why it's in there. 9 says, this is the number. He's telling you the number because this is the wealth they had when they got back over here in Nehemiah 5. So in Nehemiah 5, you come back to chapter 5 in Nehemiah, we see they got all this gold, all this wealth, and with Cyrus gave him. The Most High caused it to happen, just like he did with the Egyptians. He caused the Egyptians just to they spoiled the Egyptians because they're gonna need that money and that wealth when they get back where they're going. Same thing got to happen when we leave here. So he says in chapter 5, verse 8, and I said unto them, we after our ability have redeemed our brethren the Jews, which were sold unto the heathen. So how do they redeem them? They got the gold and the silver that Cyrus gave them. So they redeemed them. So you go to the curses in Deuteronomy 28 and 68 says we're gonna come over here and no man was gonna redeem us. Why? Because we don't have the resources to redeem our brethren. But right here, Cyrus gave them the money they need. And that's why he says right here, in verse 8, and we will even sell your brethren, or shall they be sold unto us? Because they got the money. Then held they their peace and found nothing to answer. They have nothing to say because they standing there with a pocket full of money. Cyrus gave them. Anyway, so 9 says, also I said, it is not good that ye not to walk in the reproach of the heathen of our enemies. I likewise and my brethren and my servants might exact of them money and corn. I pray you, let us leave off this usury. Restore, I pray you, to them even this day their lands, their vineyards, their olive yards, their houses, also the hundredths or part of the money and of the corn and the wine and the oil that ye exacted of them. So what are we reading right here? This is reparations. So this ain't something that's Negroes concocted about the blue. It's reparations. And not only that, it's Jubilee. Every 50 years, everything's supposed to go back. And like I said before, now you see why they took that understanding out about a Jubilee. Because they ain't trying to return shit. Like he said, he said Esau was gonna live by the sword. And it Cain, when he cursed Cain, he said Cain was gonna go from one place to the next, a vagabond, taking stuff that's not his. So them two came together as one and became Edom, Rome, the four beasts. And like I said, how the hell the Antichrist gonna come at the end of the four beasts? You got to come at the beginning of it in order to set it up. You can't come at the end of it. There's a nut bucket that concocted this. How you gonna come at the end? He had to come at the beginning, like I said. Antiochus came right before the fourth beast. He the one initiated. He burning up the Torah. He burning up the Tanakh. He burning up all our books. And putting pigs on the altar and all that. He the one set it up. He jumped it off. Okay. So anyway, 12. Then said we will restore them, and we will require nothing of them. So will we do as thou sayest. Then I called, here we go. Then I called the priest and took an oath of them that they should do not according to this promise. Also, I shook my lap and I said, so God shake out every man from his house and from the labor that performeth not this promise, even thus be he shaken out and empty. And all the congregation said, amen, and praise the Lord. And the people did according to all the promise. So this is exactly how it's gonna happen when we go when everything started unfolding, which already started, but it's nothing new under the sun. We see the same thing, the Egyptian captivity, same thing in the Babylonian captivity. Our Redeemer provided us with everything, turn people's minds around, turn whole nations' minds around. Same thing gonna happen now. There ain't shit we gotta do. We don't need no Jesus Christ to help us. Okay, so it says, moreover, from the time, this is verse 14, chapter 5, verse 14. Moreover, from the time that I was appointed to be their governor in the land of Judah, from the 20th year even until 32nd year of Artaxerxes the king, that is 12 years, I and my brethren have not eaten the bread of the governor, but the former governors that had been before me were chargeable unto the people, and had taken of them bread and wine, besides 40 shekels of silver. Yea, even their servants bore rule over the people but so did not I, because of the fear of God. Yea, also I continued in the work of this wall. Neither bought we any land, and all my servants were gathered thither unto the work. Moreover, there were at my table 150 of the Jews and rulers, besides those that came unto us from among the heathens that are about us. Now that which was prepared for me daily was 1 ox, 6 choice sheep, also fowls were prepared for me, and once in 10 days store of all sorts of wine. Yet for all this required not I the bread of the governor, because the bondage was heavy upon the people. Think upon me, my God, for good, according to all that I have done for this people. So just like the president or the governor or anybody else, you got a certain amount of, you got a salary that you get paid for being the governor. When Nehemiah got there, he refused that. He didn't want it. He had it allotted to the people because they needed it more than what he needed. He was there on account of the Lord of hosts had sent him. That was his objective. And like I said before, we're in the same predicament now. These Negroes that we're dealing with now, Yahweh ain't sent them. Lord of hosts ain't sent them. Okay? So both here and in Africa. So chapter 6, I'll read one more chapter. It says, now it came to pass when Sanballat and Tobal and Gershom, the Arabian, and the rest of our enemies heard that I had built the wall, and that there was no breach left therein, though at that time I had not set up the doors upon the gates. So I want to shine a light on something right quick. When the video, I was playing the video on the lineages, and it was started out, it was talking about Nehemiah, and then he was talking about how the high priest had married into Sanballat's lineage. And here goes Sanballat right here, chapter 6. Now it came to pass when Sanballat. So the Israelites are married, mingled with these people. That's why, and these ones right here ruling over them. They're tyrants. But the priest, he married one of his daughters. How you gonna win? You can't win. Did Solomon win? No. So anyway, then Sanballat and Gershon sent unto me, saying, "Come, let us meet together in some one of the villages in the plains of Onan." But they thought to do me mischief. So he thought that they was Nehemiah and the people that came back. So they had been dealing with the wicked feed, the wicked basket. The good fig had went to Babylon. Now they back. So he thinking that it's business as usual, but he dealing with a whole different type of Israelite. He want to meet somewhere with them, and Nehemiah tell him, "No, I ain't meeting with you." So verse 3, and I sent messages unto them, saying, "I am doing a great work, so that I cannot come down. They should why should the work cease? What will I leave it and come down to you?" Yet they sent unto me 4 times after this sort, and I answered them after the same manner, consistent, right? Keeping the Most High's words and his laws. Then sent Sanballat his servant unto me in like manner the 5th time, with an open letter in his hand, wherein was written, "It is reported among the heathen," and this demonic activity also. And Gershon said it that thou and thy Jews think to rebel, for which cause thou buildest the wall, that thou mayest be their king according to these words. And thou hast also appointed prophets to preach of thee at Jerusalem, saying, "There is a king in Jerusalem." And now, it says, there's a king in Jerusalem, and now shall it be reported to the king according to these words. Come now, therefore, and let us take counsel together. Then I sent unto him, saying, There are no such thing done as thou sayest, but thou fringest them out of thine own heart. So he's trying to start to drum. Say, well, they all made us afraid, saying, their hand shall be weakened from the work, but it be not done. Now therefore, O God, strengthen my hands. Afterwards I came into the house of Shema, the son of Bble, the son of Mehethabel, who was shut up. And he said, let us meet together in the house of God within the temple, and let us shut the doors of the temple, for they will come to slay them. Yea, in the night will they come to slay them. And I said, should such a man as I flee? And who is there that, being as I am, would go into the temple to save his life? I will not go in. And lo, I perceived that God had not sent him, but that he pronounced this prophecy against me, that Tobiah and Sanballat had hired him. Therefore was he hired, that I should be afraid and do so and sin, that they might have matter of an evil report, that they might reproach me. My God, think thou upon Tobiah and Sanballat according to their works, and on the prophetess Nebat and the rest of the prophets that would have put me in fear. So, okay, 15. And so the wall was finished in the 25th day of the month of Elu, in the 50 and 2 days. And it came to pass that when all our enemies heard thereof, and all the heathen that was about us saw these things, they were much cast down in their eyes, for they perceived that this work was wrought of our God. Moreover, in these days, the nobles of Judah sent many letters unto Tobiah, and the letters of Tobias came unto them. For there were many in Judah sworn unto him, because he was, there you go right here. So because he was the son-in-law of Shema, the son of Bara, and his son Jonathan had taken the daughter of Meshullam, the son of Barkiah, so they intermarried, they intermingled. That's why they handling them like that. When Nehemiah and them got back, so also they reported his good deeds before me, and uttered my words in him. And Tobias sent letters to put me in fear. Okay, so that was chapter 6. See if I can read one more chapter. Okay, got all these names in here. Yeah, so yeah, I'm gonna cut it off right there. Anybody have any comments about anything I read, anything I was talking about? Questions, remarks? Okay, so with that being said, I'm gonna cut it off right there. I'll see everybody tomorrow for our reading through the Tanakh. So, like I said, 7 to 9, we change our hours. Okay, try to get some better time. Okay, so with that being said, let's say shalom, everybody. And I'll see y'all tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Shalom.